the tales of the
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast who had its whole world stripped from it and is now back and has a lot of weird memories about it. We're going to finish the Age of X crossover event from 2011. We're back on New Mutants number 24. Gary, how are you today, my friend?
Doing all right.
How excited are you for Deadpool 3?
Pretty excited. It looks real good. I want X-Men in the MCU. It's like the thing that's going to get me excited again. You know, I'm not a big doomsayer on the MCU, but I'm behind on several bits of it, and the enthusiasm has definitely waned.
Yes,
it would be unthinkable to not see one of those movies in the theater now, and like I didn't see the Marvels, even though I think I like the Marvels. I don't see anything wrong with it. I just didn't go see it. I got no Marvel buddies in town.
Yeah.
So I'm excited I want that experience of going to go see a movie alone in the theater during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the X-Men will bring me back to feeling mandatory, even if it's like Warren Worthington Origins or some bullshit.
Can I spoil one character thing for you?
Yeah.
I saw an interview with the guy who played the Juggernaut, and
I saw that as well,
where he's just basically like, they can't afford to put me in the suit, so I'm not in it.
Yeah, it sucks to be in the suit too much.
Which I get. I absolutely get. I just dang.
Yep. It would have been fun.
The idea that they even talked to him about it though, like is very interesting to me.
Yeah. The framing of that interview is a little bit irritating because the headline is all just like Vinnie Jones turns the way that like anytime somebody says something negative about Marvel, the weird headline is just kind of delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like it's muckraking a little bit to me, because the actual interview with him, he's just like, I'd love to do it. It's just the suit was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I didn't like that movie, but I love these Deadpool movies, and it'd be cool to be part of one. Like, he's not down on the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that dude's been doing since X-Men 3, but I doubt it's been a whole lot, right?
Yeah, he's been on TV, I think, largely. In this comic, this is one of the deceptively bad covers, I think, where if you look at it for like a second, it looks okay. And then the more you look at it, the worse it gets. Specifically, I want to draw attention to Winking Cyclops, who is somehow like has his head turned one way and has an optic blast coming out of just one of his eyes.
Yeah, looks
totally different direction. And then this guy that Colossus is
that's the guy I was just about to bring up. Dude, I just looked up Vinnie Jones on IMDb, and I don't know why I'd not put together that he was the guy in Snatch and Lock, Stock, the two movies that I absolutely adore. Like, I never watched recently. I just never put together that it was the same dude. That's amazing. That's wild.
He's great in those.
Yeah, he's great.
He's real good at that kind of guy.
Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. This guy that Colossus is strangling, who looks like Silver Age Mastermind. Mm-hmm. Like old Brotherhood of Mutants, like the Brotherhood of Mutants had like everyone's real well put together except for Toad and Mastermind, and like
specifically
Toad
like
has an excuse.
The pirate version, right? Like
yes,
like the one where he was pretending to be a pirate for Jean Grey for a little while.
Like his hair is always wet, and he just has a shitty dirt stash and stuff.
So
like
weird. I also like that they got RoboCop in here.
So funny.
That's good.
Yeah, the Avalanche RoboCop. It's a weird cover. Here there's a big battle happening, and then in the middle Legion's freaking out as like a ghost.
Yes, because that's kind of representative of what's going to be going on in this issue. So to catch us up, we have learned that it's one of Legion's personalities who's taken on the appearance of Moira McTaggart, but not actually any of the personality, has created this entire universe to protect David against Dr. Nemesis, essentially. Dr. Nemesis was going through David's brain and just removing personalities at large in an effort to try to make him kind of whole, an actual person, as opposed to a weird X-Men villain, which he is. So once they started realizing like they were killing the personalities, this personality took over and then basically took over everybody's brain and world and created this fictional universe that we're in. And when this is all revealed to everybody involved, Xavier reveals this to everybody. Moira / Legion's personality.
The Thing.
Is like, okay, fine, we'll just have everybody attack you, and then like a bunch of humans are going to attack the fortress.
Yep. Going through, and she blames him. You did this.
Yes.
This is because you listened to Charles Xavier. You brought the walls down.
Yep. But they don't have any choice. So like this is going to be a big, like there's going to be a lot of fighting, and this is just like fighting humans, which again, like knowing that this is all fake is kind of a bummer to me a little bit. Like it's good. I mean, it's fine. Like it's what you want from a comic book, I guess, is X-Men fighting humans in a way that like doesn't like where there's no consequences, but also like it's just okay.
It's not the best stakes, and it's not the best action either. This Kurth, this artist is. They're heading out. They're going to go fight. Cannonball leads them, and Legion's like, why did you do this? And she's like, I had to. It doesn't matter if those people die. It's only you and I that matter. We'll just build another world with just the two of us.
Yes.
And that's what leads into Age of Moira Legion Fuck Palace.
Of course.
The follow-up crossover where it's just the two of them for 6 issues.
Mm-hmm. Exciting.
They're out there fighting. There are a bunch of like war one-liners in this. Like a lot of badass one-liners.
Yeah, like Cyclops is like, it's going to be really hard to miss with these odds, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be
stuff like
a bunch of that stuff. Xavier is still trying to convince Legion to like calm the fuck down, basically. And this is when Magneto finally wakes back up from being smashed into the ceiling a couple of issues ago, and is like, just leave him alone for now. And then again, we're going to cross this or cut this in with like big splash pages of just X-Men fighting and shooting. I want you to pay attention to Jubilee's face on this panel. I am convinced
at it.
Later in the issue we're going to see an exact duplicate of that face.
We might.
I feel like there's an exact duplicate a little bit later. We'll call it out when we get to it. But it's just it's not doesn't even look like Jubilee except for the glasses. No. I guess like it's just like, how do you even know that's Jubilee? I don't know.
Off model for sure. They're fighting. Things are going bad. It's overwhelming odds, etc. Everyone's getting their little highlight moment here. So like Colossus throws one of these gunships into another one. Frenzy picks up this armored suit that can self-repair and kind of throws it into orbit. There, and everyone's, again, just having this conversation, doing cool war things. Like nothing's getting through the gates, nothing except ash. If it's just ash, you're not burning hot enough. Everyone is doing that shit.
I do love that Colossus is like, once he sees Frenzy throw that robot in the sky, he's like, that's my girl. Like he's kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
It's very funny. There's lots of one-liners. Everybody remember who Wolverine is? He's in this series.
Yeah. He was a bartender for a little bit in this series.
He basically has gotten adamantium poisoning, so that his whole healing factor is like dedicated to keeping him alive. But he decides that he can't sit this war out. He has to get into it. We're given a lot of Xavier narration about what's happening in Wolverine's head. I just looked at Wolverine's face and had to say Wolverine's face because it looks so fucking weird.
It looks so weird, man. This is like a very soft-featured Wolverine.
But he decides
with big wide cheeks.
He decides to pop his claws anyway to go help out his fellow mutants.
Yep. Cut over to Moira, who teleported into her little lounge. And she's ranting. You asked for this. You begged for this. You shouldn't, talking to Legion and saying, you shouldn't have pushed me, Xavier. I was trying to be humane. She's about to throw the universe into the fire, which may or may not be a metaphor if you believe in such things.
Not in comic books.
But Kitty Pryde runs out, rescues it from the fire.
Thank God. The Avengers are in there. We have to save this.
Yes. to save the fantastic.
All of the art in the universe is in this tiny box. We have to save it. It's just such a ridiculous premise the more you think about it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's very X-Men-y. Like it's just very hilarious that it's Legion.
There's an Onion headline back when the iPod Nano came out where it was like finally a way to stick 10,000 songs in your ass. Or something like that. And that's what this reminds me of. Like this would be finally a way to stick the entire Midnight Suns into your crack.
Absolutely. Finally.
Yeah.
She runs through the walls. But of course, like Moira, for lack of a better word, let's just call it stigma. Let's call this personality Moira. Moira controls this whole universe, so she controls all of the physics in it too. So she basically just explodes this as Kitty tries to run away. But that's not going to stop Magneto and Xavier from coming in and trying to fight her.
Yep. And they're trying to distract her etc., trying to stop her, but she is omniscient,
Yes.
and omnipotent in this, omnipotent. She's like, this is good. The whole world is going to be destroyed if you do this. This only exists because of me. Who's even going to hold this together if you defeat me? And Legion comes in saying like, look around, there's nothing to save.
And we go back to
even if we did this.
Yeah. And we go back to the combat, the battle outside where Cannonball gets hit by, ironically, what looks like a cannonball.
Yes.
And Gambit has arrived at the field to explode people with advertising, which is very, very funny to me. I like this a lot.
I like that. He's out of cards.
Yeah.
Cannonball is dying, and Rogue walks up to him, and he says, "Hey, take my powers, and see if there's anything you can do with them." Yeah. And then Rogue becomes Cannon Rogue. And starts zapping people.
I like Cannon Rogue a whole lot.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. I've always thought Cannonball has cool powers and always wanted to like him a little bit more. They're good Cannonball stories, but
yeah. I've always been fond of Cannonball, just in a like trying his best kind of way, right? Like just made me think about like I see a lot of myself in Cannonball for just like trying and then failing in a lot of things in his life.
Oh, one of the bright spots of the New Mutant movie, I think. Like him, trying to take off and being, tethered to that thing. Like all that stuff worked pretty well.
Yeah, there's some great all the magic stuff in that movie worked really well too. Like I could rewatch that movie just for that stuff. Man, I wonder if any of those characters are going to show up in Deadpool. That would be super fun.
I hope so. That'd be sick. Anna Taylor-Joy is
great.
Yeah, his magic is such perfect casting.
I mean, it's just amazing casting. Yeah.
Yeah. So the humans are letting their whole. All of their ordnance out. They destroy the tower here. And Hellion says, this was a mistake. We have nowhere to retreat. This makes things a lot simpler. We get Cyclops and Wolverine fighting together as a thing, because this is before they just, hate each other for eternity. Or after.
Or they start sleeping together, depending on what you subscribe to.
It's one or the other.
Yes. I love Cyclops saying, glad you could make it. Just very funny.
I was gonna fucking die, man.
Yeah, for real.
I can't. I'm not supposed to sit up. The doctor told me not to.
Legion and Moira are arguing. I love that there's just passed out mutants on the floor while all this is happening. Moira is obviously very upset and basically saying like, they were killing you. They were ripping pieces out of you. And Legion was like, all of this is my fault. Like, and none of this really exists. Like, this is just a world that you created, and it's not enough. Like, it's not going to be enough. And
it's 4 blocks of rubble. This is stupid.
I will say, like, they get a lot of like, pathology is not the word I'm looking for. Pathos out of this character, because she like collapses in his arms and it's like, well, then I'll do better. Like, this was my first time. Like, I didn't know how to use these powers, and I'll do it again. Like, I'll remake this and we'll be perfect. Like, all this personality wants to do is protect David, and it's very sweet. Like, it's kind of emotional at this point.
She meant well.
Yes,
and he hugs her, but he absorbs her. Takes that power back onto himself.
Yes,
he says, "I called her home."
And now, presumably, he has the powers that she did. So, like, he flies out into the battlefield and just begins unmaking everything. So, like, in the middle of the fight, that all of the enemies just disappear.
Yep. He says, "You're nothing but a pack of cards."
Yep.
Comes down, sits down and says, like, everyone's like, "What's going on, David?" And he, "I've absorbed more of your back. In theory, I can do anything she could have done."
Yeah.
And Gambit makes the point, like, "No offense, Monami, but you're holding the entire creation in your hands. In theory, isn't a lot of confidence."
There's a Thanos in there, says Bobby Drake.
Yeah, there's like the entire. Do you remember the New Warriors? They're in there.
The whole of the New Warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, where is Emma Frost? She's in there. Does anybody remember Emma Frost?
She's in the hospital. She died in the tower, I guess. They didn't really account for that. I guess if you die in this, you don't die in real life, because a lot of mutants were inside that tower.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All the psychics. And he basically says we could stay here, but I think that sucks. This is not a stable reality. We can't do this, and I don't have a way to practice this. I just have to do it.
Yep. So big bright lights.
Yep.
We get some narration from Xavier talking about how this is his son, and kind of what he's doing, basically reassembling Utopia. And then everybody is then on the kind of the top of Utopia in their like normal outfits. They're not Age of X up anymore.
Yep.
This is the place, and Legacy / Rogue is like, this is Utopia. Because Pixie is like, I remember this place. So again, just like our first example of like, this also seems unreal, right?
Yes. they're all coming to, realizing this, and Xavier's really calm. Like, your memories will return eventually. I'll help you root out the false ones.
Xavier is so chill about this extremely horrifying incident.
I would just be, I'd be screaming in the fetal position on the ground.
Xavier is so chill about it. He's like,
back and forth.
I've got years of fucking with Jean Grey's mind to under my belt. Like, this is no big deal, everybody.
I've had practice. And Angel says this is going to be hard for you to do by yourself. And then Emma comes out with her students and they're going to help. And he's like, yeah, they were imprisoned as well because they would have seen through it. The drawing of him making him look very pleased with himself, I think, is a mistake.
Yeah.
He's just real happy.
This is the panel here where I think it's Jubilee saying, and we lived here. I know we did. This is the exact same face that was earlier. I mean, just a little different like coloring, but I think it's the exact same face.
I think they just traced it.
Weird.
There are some permanent consequences to this that happened. One is that Chamber is back to being Chamber, like he's bad Chamber, like having his chest explode. I think this did that. In this, and they say something isn't right, and their characters are like, yeah, we're the pieces that don't fit. North Star's there. I'm not sure who everyone is in this panel, which is a failure of the art.
That looks like Thunderbird in the back, maybe, or
that might be,
or Warpath, or whatever they're calling the current Native American insert.
Yes, I'm not. This is stuff that might come through in the epilogue.
Sure. There. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not super fresh in my memory remembering this era, even though I read a lot of it.
Frenzy approaches Scott, and remember, her and Basilisk were like super fuck buddies in the Age of X universe. She remembers
insatiable fuck buddies.
Insatiable. She remembers that and like immediately starts making out with him in front of Emma Frost, who is his current girlfriend. And Emma is not like super happy about this. In fact, calls Frenzy a skank, which seems a little excessive.
I'll give you, like, I'm picking up, she's like, I'm sure there's an explanation, and she picks it up from his brain and goes, oh, that's good. I'm picking up all these highlights. You don't have to explain. I'll give your skank a 5-minute running start. Like, just woof. Rough stuff, Emma.
We get a panel of like everybody kind of coming together again. Xavier narrating reunions and repairs, revisions. He's basically naming Final Fantasy VII sequels at this point. So this is part 3, 4, and 5
exclusively. I like Namor and Storm looking at each other like, "Whoa, shit!" That was
man,
weird.
we had some times. Huh? She's like, "I'm going to go back to Wakanda now and to like maybe have a
I'm out."
Yeah,
I am out. Xavier's walking around. He sees Blindfold. And she can, she's mourning the dead. He's like, oh, those people weren't really people. They're not dead. And she basically says, if God imagined us, we'd think we were real.
Yes. And
then if they stopped when we died, we'd still think we were. And they lived for just a day. They didn't even know.
And, Cyclops interrupts this by basically coming up to talk to the professor and saying like, hey, we need to talk about like what all of this is, because like we need a way to deal with this. Again, he's the leader of the X-Men now. There's not very many mutants left over, so it's kind of his job that he's assumed.
And we can't have Legion about.
Yeah, we can't just let Legion get away with this, essentially.
Yes, like if this is what happens when, even if somebody misguidedly tries to fix him, like what is the alternative for Legion? How do you solve a problem like Legion?
You send him into space like Hulk. That seems to be a good idea. It worked
Planet
out great.
Legion. Yeah.
Planet Legion would actually be a decent pitch, I think. I think you could do some work with that.
Yeah, and then you get World War Legion.
Oh man, this is already sounding great.
I know, not bad. Secret Legion, House of Legion. They're gonna address this here in a weird status quo change that I think doesn't stick. In the kind of post log to this, I think that he gets the ability to control his powers, and they quietly forget about it. Like it just no writer picked up on it.
Oh, okay. Well, that happens.
If I recall. Yeah,
that happens.
I want to draw my attention. So they cut over, he's like, we can't have that conversation without somebody being there. And we cut over to Legion in like the Mindscape practicing universe building. Mm-hmm. There is this weird drawing here where there's 2 panels that make it look like Legion's whole bottom half is his arm.
Oh yeah.
Do you see how that works?
Yeah,
it looks like a weird fish.
Notice, it's a weird, like one of those, like put the 2 pictures together. Yeah. It looks like his giant arm is coming out of his whole body. Yeah.
It's incredible.
Absolutely.
It's like when Finn in Adventure Time gets the giant foot for his lower half.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like that. Just an incredible bad layout thing.
What a weird thing comic books are, Gary.
Yeah,
Have you ever
it's
stopped to
super
think just about how
weird.
fucking weird it is that they exist?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
They're real weird. If you haven't, I'm sure you have read it because it's a classic. But the old Scott McCloud Understanding Comics, where he talks about how weird time is in comics and how weird they work.
Yeah.
And it's real good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good crossover event, I think. It's up in the air. You probably heard us talk a little bit about whether or not we're going to cover any of the aftermath of this. It's just we're gonna read through it and kind of decide on how we want to, because there's like 4 issues of stuff, but it's not really 4 issues worth of content, I think, of conversation.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. We may or may not get another kind of wrap up episode of Age of X. But what a fun crossover event, as far as just like, again, it was just kind of fun to go through. Like, once the mystery is solved, like, I have really no desire to go back and reread anything, because there's no like clues as to, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you just know what's going to happen, basically.
Yes.
That said, though, it was a fun ride. Like, it was definitely a fun amusement park ride, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it was. I appreciated it. It's a trifle.
Yes.
It doesn't do a whole lot.
That's a good word for it. It's a trifle.
Yeah, but I will read a trifle.
Yeah, I'll eat the shit out of some trifles, man.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with the trifle.
We watched an episode of the Bake Off last night, and the final challenge was to make a souffle. And I looked at Autumn, I was like, "Have you ever made a souffle?" And she's like, "No, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. I've just decided." And I was like, "Okay."
Excellent. You get a souffle.
I get a souffle. Everybody in the house gets a souffle, which is just me and Autumn. So it works out great.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. What a good comic book run.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, we'll definitely be covering X-Men 97 next. That's going to be our next big run. There's 10 episodes of that, so you can expect 10 episodes of this. We'll probably just do 1 episode per podcast. I think that probably make the most sense. Just like in the old days, Gary, just like how we used to.
Yeah.
And then after that, we will see. There's a bunch of Marvel stuff to catch up on that Gary hasn't seen that he should probably watch at some point. That we need to talk about some Marvel movies that have come out and have then just immediately gone away. I've been doing like kind of an MCU speed run lately, and it's been really, really fun just going through the movies that I like a whole lot and then haven't seen too many times. Made me really appreciate some stuff, and also like really exposes some of the weaknesses of the MCU a lot. But it's just fun. I like those movies, Gary. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry. Don't be a hater. I like those movies.
I like them too. I'm with you,
Gary. Don't be a hater, man. Come on, what's wrong with you?
I am such a hater, just for other things,
for other stuff.
Like I am a ludicrous hater, just for a lot of different things.
I'm 15 hours into Final Fantasy VII remake. You want to hate on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a ludicrous hater for that game.
It's ridiculous. I don't know why I'm doing it. I really don't. I just have the bad brain, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then every once in a while, I'm like, this is too shitty. I just got to go play Balatro for a while. that's my life.
You got to take a little break from it.
Yeah.
I just I'm in a real let it die phase. Which is ironic for us covering this very old comic and stuff. But just like, man, does really need to bring back everything from when I was 17? I don't know.
Yeah, like there's a new Ghostbusters movie with like kids
yes.
or something. And like I know there's been like I haven't watched any of the modern Ghostbusters stuff. Like I just kind of skipped them for whatever reason. Even like the one that was all chicks or whatever. Like I just
Answer the Call.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. Like I like those movies as a kid. I have just no desire. Like the universe wasn't really there for you know what I'm saying? Like I don't need more Ghostbusters. I
didn't need it at all. And like so like I kind of like Answer the Call. I think it's a perfectly cromulent movie. But then I found out that there was a new one. I knew there was that Kid Ghostbusters. I didn't watch Kid Ghostbusters, Podcaster Ghostbusters or whatever. And then saw that there was another one which I hadn't heard of until it's like coming out in like a week.
Yeah,
and I hadn't heard about it until last week. And I was like, "Fuck, man! Like we are just living in like This is not new information. It's been true for a long time. But this like living in the nostalgia time loop." I've been feeling it a lot lately.
The death of the secondhand movie market of like the sell through stuff. So when you and I were growing up, it was very, very common to buy like a fucking VHS tape for $5 or later on DVDs for rental places or for even for your own personal collection or whatever, right? And all that stuff has basically disappeared. Like Blu-rays are now $50 or $60 a pop. I don't know if you've tried to buy a new Blu-ray for a movie you like, but they're like video games now. It's crazy. But I feel like because that stuff doesn't exist anymore, like there's no backup for like making a shitty movie that's like then becomes a cult classic. So like you don't make money anymore selling to these video stores or to directly to people. You only make money in the theater, so you're only rolling the dice on movies that are going to like guarantee people to get to the theater. And I guess like Ghostbusters brings people to the theater, fucking Jurassic Park or Indiana Jones. There's a new Indiana Jones thing that has fucking Phoebe Waller-Bridges, and I'm like, what are you doing in an Indiana Jones movie, girl? Like make a Fleabag movie.
You're too good for this.
Yeah, you're too good for this. What are you doing? But she's like, and the answer is making money, hand over fist, which hopefully so.
And like also just intense, let Harrison Ford rest.
Please let this
let that man go to sleep for the love of God.
Isn't he Red Hulk?
I understand.
Like we're about to get him as Red Hulk.
He is Red Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want him to go to sleep though. He's so tired. Why is I don't know. Yeah, it's just I'm in a very I am a real crank about the new Final Fantasy VII because I'm in very, very let it die pilled at the moment.
Yeah, I can see it.
And I watched a clip of it, and there was a guy who plays the card game who cries all the time. It was like, I'm the crying boy. The more I cry, the more I get good at the cards.
This is
and
a streamer,
he has like
or
almost
just a
literally
character
that
in the
voice.
video game?
No, that's a character in the game.
It could be
And
either one. So.
Yeah, no, but I basically cringed out of my soul.
Yeah,
I was just like, I can't do that. Like, that can't be.
It's weird because I know most of my Final Fantasy knowledge is like absorbed through the internet over the years, and like with that knowledge, like has come like this idea that it's a very serious video game. I've not been prepared for just how goofy and dumb it is, or like how weird Cloud is, or just how like it's just a very strange, especially like because I played a little bit of the original game when it came to like when they did like a PS4 like port or whatever. But having it like everything so ultra realistic on the remake, it just makes everything seem fucking strange and weird about it. Like it's a full fucking nightmare circus. Like why is this dude with a giant sword getting on a normal train to go to work or whatever?
It's a thing where like for fans of the series, there's a real have its cake and eat it too. Or you didn't have it. Boy, fuck that up. You know what I mean? It's trying to be both.
Yes.
You know, like it is. It always seemed goofy to me as a thing, like kind of a silly premise that lends itself to melodrama. But there's been a reevaluation of that like no, Final Fantasy VII is actually serious literature that demands to be taken extremely seriously. That I have been very skeptical about.
My boy Chris went to because they put Advent Children in the theaters again. I don't know if you heard this.
Yeah.
And he went there with one of his friends. His friend was like, "We have to go. We have to like relive our teenage experiences or whatever." Which that happened to me in my like 40s basically. If you would ask me,
yes,
but whatever. And he said like 90%, like he was like, I was a full on hater, like to the point where my friend, I thought my friend was going to leave me at the theater because I just was looking around. And he said it was just a bunch of girlfriends dragging their like traditional boyfriends to this. Like it was all girls that were like super excited about this. And like, I don't know, man, like it just blows my mind that like it's become that, like it's become a part of the culture that I just don't understand at all.
That's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Dude,
I hate that movie.
Dude, it's
so like
I imagine watching that like because I was just curious. I was like, oh, they made a whole movie out of like video game cutscenes. This movie, like this series, is known for their video game cutscenes. Let me watch this movie without knowing anything about anything. It was fucking incomprehensible.
It's incomprehensible, and it's very fascinating to me. Like fascinating, not necessarily non-derogatorily, that they're wrapping all of their failed shit around Final Fantasy VII into the remake. Because like Final Fantasy VII came out, changed the world. Everyone loved it. I loved it. Blew my mind. But then and like 10 years after that or whatever, when they did the compilation of Final Fantasy, and they just released 1,000 things everyone hated.
Yeah.
It's like
Crisis Core.
The movie has Crisis Core, which was like the best of the things, which is fine, but again, it's mostly mechanical. The story was not very good. Advent Children, which like has its fans, but is again one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And then a host of other games like everybody hated, and they're all canon and important now. And it's like, what is happening, and who is this for? It's very bizarre to me.
Yeah, I mentioned to a friend that I was playing remake, and I was asking like, what should I know before I play the game? Like in terms of like, because there was 4 or 5 additions to this game, so like what PS5 version has all of the content, et cetera, and they thought I was talking about Rebirth, and they were like, well, first you're probably going to play Crisis Core. And I'm like, I can tell you right now that's not going to happen, my friend. I may not make it through this. Probably not going to make it through this game. Like I will probably just stop in the middle. Like I've been stopping in the middle of almost every game I've played lately. But like
this game specifically is like a 90-hour game too.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of that.
Yeah, crazy times.
Anyhow,
if you like this podcast, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, and you can hear Gary talk about Final Fantasy VII some more. We'll be back next week with something. Stay tuned, everybody.
Stay tuned.